Day 6 of the Diddy trial started like any other, with reporters rushing in and murmurs about what shocking news might come next. But no one was prepared for what happened when Monique, yes, that Monique, stepped up to the stand. What had been seen as a long-standing Hollywood feud suddenly turned into federal testimony. The links she made between Diddy, Tyler Perry, Oprah Winfrey, and Bishop T.D. Jakes stunned everyone in the courtroom. She didn't just speak, she brought detailed timelines, proof, audio recordings, and truths that demanded attention. For the first time, Monique was allowed to share under oath what she had been warning about for years. What she revealed changed everything we thought we understood about the case. The courtroom was already full before the doors even opened that morning. Journalists crowded the hallways, eager for any breaking story. What they didn't expect was Monique, the Oscar-winning actress and outspoken Hollywood critic, walking calmly yet confidently in through a side door. Diddy's legal team exchanged uneasy looks. Prosecutors shuffled their papers, suddenly more alert. The atmosphere grew tense. No one had anticipated her as a witness, but the moment she took the stand, the mood shifted. Diddy, dressed sharply in charcoal, visibly stiffened. He leaned toward his lawyer, whispering with a confused expression. Cameras weren't allowed, but sketch artists captured the moment, his usual calm cracked by a twitching eye and a tight jaw. Monique sat straight, her voice steady from the start. "I was asked to speak the truth, and that's exactly what I'm here to do." For years, she had warned about what happens behind Hollywood's velvet curtains. She shared stories of being blackballed by Tyler Perry, Oprah Winfrey, and Lee Daniels. Many dismissed her as bitter or overreacting. But now, under oath in a federal courtroom, her warnings were being taken seriously. The judge allowed her to read from a timeline she prepared, detailing her interactions with those involved in the trial, dates of meetings, phone calls, broken promises, and offers made secretly under the guise of opportunity. Prosecutors nodded, some comparing her account with Cassie Ventura's earlier testimony. Suddenly, the trial expanded beyond just Diddy. Monique's next statement wasn't aimed at Diddy, but at Tyler Perry, and it hit hard. She described a private phone call in 2018 where Perry admitted that blackballing her was wrong. "He told me he was wrong," Monique testified. "He said he would apologize publicly. But he never did." Instead, Perry told her a public apology would cause backlash for others not ready to be exposed. When asked who he meant, Monique looked at the jury and said, "Puff." That's who he was worried about. Puff Daddy. Diddy. Whatever name you want to use. Gasps filled the courtroom. Even the prosecution exchanged glances. This wasn't just entertainment, it was possible proof of industry-wide collusion. Monique went further, saying Perry told her he couldn't take the risk because too many people were tied up in NDAs. She then presented a transcript of a recorded call where Perry said, "There are things happening that I can't be connected to publicly. We've all seen things at Puff's parties that we're not supposed to talk about." The judge accepted the transcript as evidence. The audio was barred for now, pending authentication. What made this moment so impactful wasn't just the accusation itself, it was the unsettling realization that many Hollywood elites might have known about what was happening at Diddy's events and chose to stay silent to protect their own reputations. Diddy's defense team quickly objected, calling Monique's testimony speculative. However, the prosecution argued successfully that her words offered crucial context on how silence and image management shielded Diddy for years and possibly enabled abuse. Then came the moment that caught everyone's attention. Monique took a deep breath, adjusted her microphone, and said something that would dominate headlines by the end of the day. "I attended one of Diddy's parties, but I left because I witnessed something I wasn't supposed to." She explained that in 2006, she was invited to a private event in Los Angeles through a friend, a fellow actor, who described it as an exclusive, valuable networking opportunity. Monique arrived at a large estate in the Hollywood Hills. Her phone was taken by the valet, and she was escorted inside. The atmosphere included candles, soft R&B music, and a flow of male and female guests being led into back rooms. She recalled seeing a woman in heels and a man wearing only a bathrobe. She also remembered one of Diddy's assistants saying, "It's all about the experience here. You're safe if you sign the NDA." At that moment, she decided to leave. She never signed the NDA and never returned. What followed was a period of silence. Her phone stopped ringing for major roles, and invitations to film festivals dried up. She heard from a producer that she was being labeled difficult, but she never forgot that night and always suspected that her departure made her a liability. When asked if she believed such experiences were typical at Diddy's events, she nodded. "I think it was all part of a system. When I refused to cooperate, I was cut out." Her testimony echoed what others, like Cassie Ventura, had described: candlelit rooms, camera setups, escorts, and luxury hotels disguised as networking opportunities. What made Monique's account especially striking was her perspective as a respected actress, not an employee. She arrived on her own terms and left while her career slowly unraveled behind her. When asked whether she thought Tyler Perry actively protected Diddy's image, she answered without hesitation. "Yes. I believe it was deliberate, coordinated, and part of a broader effort to keep things quiet." She referenced a well-known moment seen on social media: Tyler Perry entering Bishop T.D. Jakes' megachurch and handing over $1 million check in front of the congregation. "People saw it as a blessing," Monique said, "but I saw it as a transaction." She added, "That donation wasn't just charity, it was damage control. That church acts as a shield, and people like Diddy use it to build alliances that make them untouchable." Murmurs filled the courtroom. Even the judge looked up, watching the jury take notes eagerly. Monique testified that around the time of Perry's donation, rumors about Diddy and his parties began disappearing quietly from gossip blogs. "I realized people were being paid, influenced, silenced. That $1 million wasn't just for Jake, it was for peace. It was for silence." The prosecution presented photos showing that just weeks after the donation, Perry and Diddy appeared together at a bet event, arms around each other, smiling broadly, as if ignoring the swirling accusations. This supported Monique's assertion that the entertainment industry didn't just protect Diddy, it helped elevate him. Then she paused and looked directly at the judge. "I'm not afraid of being blackballed anymore. I've been through it, and let me tell you, silence is the most costly price any of us pay, and we've all paid it." At that moment in her testimony, the courtroom fell silent. Monique reached into her bag and pulled out a printed transcript. "This is the call," she said, "the one where Tyler Perry admitted he was wrong." Gasps and whispers spread throughout the room. For years, Monique had claimed Tyler Perry privately apologized for how she was treated after the Precious fallout, but now she was saying it under oath, with a transcript to prove it. "I recorded the conversation. He knew I told him, and he said he was okay with it." She handed the papers to the bailiff, who passed them to the judge. The judge glanced over the first lines, then signaled the prosecution to continue. In the transcript, Perry reportedly says, "I know I messed up. You were never difficult. You just didn't want to work for free. I should have said that publicly." Then he supposedly added, "But I can't go public. Puff's name is tied up in too much right now." The prosecution used this to show how Hollywood's elite, even those with clean reputations, fear the consequences if Diddy's secrets come out. "He told me," Monique said, "that if Puff goes down, many others go with him, people who finance movies, people who write checks." This part of her testimony confirmed what former bodyguard Gene Deal and Christian Keys had hinted at, that Diddy's influence was more than personal, it was institutional. Monique's voice became more emotional. "He had the chance to clear my name. He didn't because he was protecting something bigger than me, something darker than anyone wants to admit." The judge accepted the transcript as evidence, a major win for the prosecution. Diddy's lawyers looked shaken. A private phone call had now become federal evidence. Then came a name not mentioned before in the trial but one that caused a stir: Oprah Winfrey. Monique didn't mention her casually, she had a purpose. "In 2010, I told Oprah something personal, that I was abused as a child by my brother. She promised she wouldn't exploit it. But she did. She put my brother on her show right after I declined the Precious press tour." The courtroom was unsure how to react. It was heavy, emotional, but Monique wasn't finished. "She betrayed me. When I asked why, she said it was business. But I knew the truth, they were trying to silence me. She then linked Oprah, Perry, and Diddy through their shared use of NDAs, PR teams, and mutual handlers. They all have the same people cleaning up their messes, she testified. I know this because one of those PR representatives accidentally forwarded me an email chain with my name, Puff's name, and Tyler's all in the subject. It was about managing optics. She handed the judge a redacted copy of that email for review. The message was clear, the power structure wasn't just protecting Diddy, it was a coordinated effort. People signed NDAs. People were paid off. Careers were made or destroyed based on who cooperated. Nique, sitting under oath, called it exactly what it was, a silence machine designed to crush anyone who spoke out. The jury watched as she closed her binder. Her voice was steady. She wasn't shaken. She didn't need to be nervous because, for the first time, she wasn't just sharing her story, she was giving testimony. When the court came back from a short break, Nique surprised everyone by calmly saying, "Now let's talk about the list." The room fell silent once more, and the prosecution leaned forward, eager to hear her. In Hollywood, there's a list. It's not written down, but everyone knows it exists. It's the list of people you don't speak against, the untouchables. Puff was on it, Tyler was on it, and Oprah practically created it. She explained that this list isn't a physical document but an invisible line. If you criticized any of these powerful figures, even with proof, you'd be labeled difficult, crazy, or worse, dangerous to the industry. Nique said she crossed that line in 2010 and has been fighting to come back ever since. She named names without accusing, but to provide context. Isn't it strange, she asked, how many people worked with Diddy, Tyler, and Oprah and then just vanished? She pointed to actors who had one hit show or a moment of buzz and then disappeared. Some refused to play along, some said no. Then she lowered her voice and added, and some of them saw things they were never meant to see. The court allowed her to read a redacted statement from a former actor who spoke about a retreat hosted by a powerful male filmmaker where phones were confiscated, contracts signed, and strange rituals took place. Nique didn't say it was Tyler Perry, but she didn't deny it either. She let the jury feel the discomfort. The judge reminded everyone these were allegations, but Nique's point was clear, the industry protects secrets, not art. And telling the truth comes at a price. They'll take your career, your reputation, your peace, and leave you to explain why your phone stops ringing. When asked if she believed Diddy had a hand in sabotaging her career, she nodded. Yes, not at first, but eventually. She didn't realize the extent until years later. After the fallout from Precious and the start of her blackballing, a junior executive from Revolt TV, Diddy's company, called her. He said, "You rubbed the wrong people. It's not just about Tyler and Oprah. Puff doesn't tolerate noise either." The court listened closely as Nique testified that the executive implied Diddy had been approached by Perry's team for future projects. The deal was straightforward, they wanted access to Puff's platforms, and she was standing in the way. She learned later from mutual contacts that Perry and Diddy met behind closed doors, discussing her not as talent but as a problem. The prosecution then showed emails from a PR firm hired by both Revolt and Tyler Perry Studios. These emails discussed managing the public image of Nique and Cassie Ventura, revealing for the first time a coordinated effort to manipulate both their reputations. That moment was powerful. Nique explained she believed the label of difficult was deliberately spread like a virus. They infect one casting director, and it spreads to everyone. Soon, your name comes up, and there's already a reason to say no. Then, in a rare moment under oath in Hollywood, she said, "I wasn't blackballed. I was blackballed by black people who looked like me and by those who feared losing their own positions more than they cared about doing what was right. I didn't want to be here," Nique said, her voice steady but weary. "But I had to be because what they did to me, what they did to Cassie, and what they're doing to young women and men right now won't stop unless someone speaks louder than them." She shared that the prosecution reached out to her 2 months earlier, but at first, she refused. "I wasn't going to relive it. I didn't want to expose my family, my trauma, or my pain again. But then I saw the Prince recording. I saw Diddy yelling in court. I saw Cassie break down on the stand. That's when I broke. Monique described deciding to testify as a moment of spiritual clarity. I heard my grandmother's voice saying, "Baby, don't let them write your story without you in the room." And I knew I had to show up. Her last moments on the stand were heartbreaking. The prosecutor asked, "In your opinion, Miss Jackson, what is the root cause of this entire system of silence?" Monique replied, "Fear. Everyone in this industry is scared to lose a job, a deal, relevance, and scared to tell the truth because people like Puff, like Tyler, and yes, like Oprah have made it too costly to do so." She looked at Diddy and said quietly, "You thought no one would speak, that you built an empire strong enough to silence everyone. But now you sit in silence, and I hope you finally hear us." As she stepped down, reporters noted Diddy was visibly shaken, his hands trembling, his lawyer whispering urgently. The courtroom didn't explode with noise but with energy. It was the moment the tide turned. Monique, who had been blackballed for over a decade, had become the most powerful voice in the trial. The courtroom was tense for days, but no one expected what happened when Monique locked eyes with the defense and quietly said a name that hadn't been spoken in the previous 5 days, Tyler Perry. It wasn't a shout or a dramatic outburst. It was calm and deliberate, like someone carefully removing a loaded weapon from a locked drawer. Want to talk about power? Want to talk about silence? Ask Mr. Perry why I was blackballed after refusing to work for free. And then look who stood beside him at every event. The gallery gasped. At first, people were confused. Tyler Perry wasn't on trial. His name wasn't in the indictment. But Monique's point wasn't about the law, it was about the culture, the system, about who protects whom. He never helped me, but he made sure no one else would either. Ask the producers. Ask the agents. Ask Lee Daniels. I have the call logs. She held up a folder that hadn't even been entered into evidence yet. The defense objected immediately, but it was too late. The jury had heard it, a major Hollywood figure, a man many thought untouchable. Monique went even further. I know who attended the parties. I know which NDAs were enforced. I saw people sign them in front of me. I was told not to speak. And when I did, my work disappeared. I was told, be grateful. You're lucky to be here. She said something that left even the prosecution speechless. I have a recording of a phone call. Tyler apologized for everything. He admitted he was wrong, but he wouldn't go public. He said it would ruin everything. Staring straight ahead, she added, I'm done protecting men who never protected me. That one sentence struck harder than any piece of evidence shown in court that week. Suddenly, the case wasn't just about Diddy. It became about the entire system of power that had enabled him for so long. Monique wasn't only calling out Diddy, she was calling out Hollywood itself. For the first time during the trial, the jurors began to see beyond the man at the defense table. They started to see everyone who had helped keep him in place.